Welcome once again here on the Regional Radio Sports Network. We're broadcasting today from Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, Indiana, just outside McKenna Arena, inside the File Center. My name is Paul Condry. Thanks for joining us here on Regional Radio Sports for Holy Cross College Men's Basketball Media Day for 24-25. Taylor Braid, new men's basketball coach here at Holy Cross, is with us here today. Also happy to be joined by, on my far right, Justin O'Neill and Nash Hostetler, who's here to the right of Coach Brady. Excited about the upcoming campaign, and I know for you, Tyler, it's an opportunity to be a head coach for the first time at the college level. Give us an idea as you look at the landscape of coming in and taking over the basketball program. What's on the agenda right from the get-go? Let's win some games, okay?
No, absolutely. That's item agenda 1A is winning some games. Obviously instilling our culture, keeping our culture alive, and then these two to my right, obviously Justin and Nash play a big factor in that, but the first thing is just figuring out what is the true identity of this team.
Have you figured out what the identity's been through the camp thus far?
So far, we're 13 practices in, but we're developing that. It's something that it doesn't just happen overnight. It has to organically grow, throughout the preseason, leading into the beginning of the season.
Obviously, Coach Mike McBride had a measurable impact in your life as a coach, but you've had a lot of other coaches who have helped you along your path to get here to become a head coach. Talk about some of the coaches in your career that have yesterday we just celebrated National Coaches Day in America.
Sure.
So who have been some of the guys who have changed Tyler Brady's life along the way?
Yeah, one of the the first coach that I actually worked under was Pat Carlisle. I started out at a junior college, a Division II junior college in Columbus, Ohio, and Pat Carlisle was an individual that had a little dictatorship to him a little bit, but those kids absolutely loved him. The one factor that I kind of learned from him was just the idea of thoroughly preparing in everything that you do. Obviously, at the junior college level, these kids are going to be here for 2 years and then moving on, hopefully, to a 4-year institute. So he took a lot of pride in these individuals in their academics. So academics was a big, stressful part of his coaching philosophy. And then just kind of throughout the ages, my dad was a big influence on me. He was a high school basketball coach, my high school basketball coach, spent numerous years at the high school level in Ohio. And then my college coach, Guy Neal at Bluffton University, I played a Division III ball. And, if you know anything about Division III ball, you have to recruit an unbelievable amount of players. So he was thorough in his recruiting process. He knew, player A. He knew that mom, dad name, siblings, coach's name, AAU. He knew every small detail of his recruits, and that's how he was able to have a very successful program.
And also, you spent some time at Columbia State here, right?
Yep.
And in addition to that, if my memory serves me correctly, you made a stop at Huntington?
Yes. So, kind of my journey. I started out, I played, graduated in 2010, and then was at Columbus State Community College there in 2010, 2011. And then my wife and I moved down to Tusculum College, an NCAA Division II school in southeast Tennessee. And that's actually where I first met Mike McBride. He was the associate head coach at the time. And then from there, I knew this was it. I wanted to be a college coach. You don't get into coaching to be an assistant. You want to be that head. And the head coach at the time, Mike Jones, told me you have to pursue your master's. That's one of the first weed-out processes. So then I actually wrote a handwritten note to every Division I and Division II coach in the country. And my wife and I were fortunate enough that the head coach, Coach Fortebrugge, at Hawaii Pacific, called me up and said, hey, we have a GA position. Would you move to Hawaii? And I don't think I even got the question out before my wife said yes.
Absolutely. Sign me up.
So spent 2 years out there at Hawaii Pacific and then coached under Coach Platt at Huntington University, 2 years there in the Crossroads. And then now obviously entering my 8th year here at Holy Cross College.
So that would have been Coach Platt Jr. or Senior?
Correct. Yep, that was Ty. That was Ty Platt.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Steve was still around, very involved with the program, but kind of had taken a step away from that coaching aspect.
So now you find yourself with a wide variety of basketball experiences from all those different geographical spots. Now we feel here, and I know the two Ohio guys to my immediate right may differ, but we feel here in this state that high school basketball in the state of Indiana is really, really special. I don't know how they feel about that because they didn't grow up here and play that, but we have a little bit of a chip on our shoulders thinking that we're the best. I don't know if that is, but now that you've had a chance to be here and you've watched some Indiana high school basketball, recruited some Indiana high school basketball kids, what say ye? Is Indiana high school basketball the best in the world?
I will defer that to the two Ohioans. You know, you're speaking with three Ohioans right now.
I know.
No, but I agree. I think from what I've been in the state of Indiana now, I guess it's been 10 years. Indiana high school basketball is pure basketball. There's an old saying that, you know, in 49 states it's just basketball. Indiana is it is a basketball-rich program or state, excuse me. But that's not to slight Ohio. Ohio is right there. You know, I think if Ohio State football isn't as impactful on a national stage, Ohio basketball is right there.
Okay, well, we'll get some thoughts from the guys. Justin O'Neill, Nash, we're going to talk about this. Settle the argument. Indiana high school basketball better than the OH?
I think Justin O'Neill's an expert on this more than I am. He's pretty passionate about Indiana versus Ohio debate.
Yeah, Ohio's definitely number one.
Okay,
Ohio's definitely number one.
We can, that'll be a debate for another day.
Exactly.
But let's talk about making the decision, guys. I mean, this is the last go around, and you guys are both. Jo, I think you're at 23 now.
Me, I'm 21.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
He's a young senior.
So where are you at?
I'm 22.
So okay,
22.
so we're in a situation now where you guys you find yourself with the last go around. What's your take on college basketball and the landscape of college basketball? Do you think it's in a good place? What do you think? Nash, we'll start with you.
That's a really good question. If I had more time, I'd like to think about it more. But I think a general idea of basketball right now, it's kind of in a limbo state, I think, with recruiting in terms of also the transfer portal.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's a very controversial topic, whether you're really against the current situation of the transfer portal. But I know that me personally, I experienced one of the hardest things for me was COVID when we first got initially recruited.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of gave everyone an extra year to play basketball, which kind of hurt me as being the ones who needed to get recruited out of high school. That was a 1 year thing, but it was in play for a solid 3 or 4. It affected us 5 years straight. Yeah. So we were, as Holy Cross, one of the younger teams in our conference for the last 3 or 4 years in a row because we didn't have as many returners as a lot of the other schools had because of that 5th year of COVID. But I think in general, the one thing I have issues with is just the transfer portal. I think it's kind of players are, and NIL is also another issue that I like to think about because I think it's giving players an out to get out of that 4-year mentality and transitioning from school to school. I don't think it's very healthy. You're not really building a foundation with one program. So I think that's a big issue with a lot of players going into that transfer portal, not staying disciplined enough to build relationship with the current coach that they have.
Justin, my take is pretty simple about this whole thing. You're going to make a commitment. You're going to make a commitment. I mean, it's just like your marriage. I mean, you know, I do. And so you're finding yourself in that situation, and now this case, I mean, you're going to make a commitment to a coach for 4 years, and all of a sudden, I've seen guys they're on their 5th school in 5 years, and it's like, what are you trying? I mean, the coach gets mad at you. The coach disciplines you. The coach, you don't like the way the coach combs his hair. In my case, there's no hair. I mean, you know, this is one of those kind of situations. But, I mean, there are guys they're just so peculiar about things, and you know, just because it doesn't go their way, they want to run away and go someplace else where it's grass, because grass is not always greener on the other side, as they say. What's your take?
Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, it's pros and cons to everything. So the transfer portal does allow for guys to, if they feel like they're in a different situation from what they expected, they can leave. But it's also the con because, you know, you're talking about 18 to 21-year-old young men, so the maturity level might not always be there, so they might think to themselves to leave when there's a situation where they should have stayed. So there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, you got to just go back to how you were raised and what you feel is right as a young man, and that's why, you know, we've stayed here for all 4 years. So,
well, one thing it's been very apparent having watched you guys. I thought, and you guys had to play early. Make no mistake about it. And so you guys were kind of, pardon the expression, thrown to the wolves, but just really not out of choice, but simply out of need. But you guys have been able, I think, to handle the adversity as well as anybody that I've been around in a long time. And Nash, let me start with you about kind of playing through some adversity, having to play maybe before you were ready. You're put in a situation where the demands of your time, the demands of your studies, the demands of being a college athlete are certainly not for the faint of heart. Let's be very, very clear on that. So talk about the journey that you've been on in growing through this thing, and now as a senior, you're really excited about the breakout.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been a long journey. We've had, as you guys would know, we've had some rough years at Holy Cross. We've had some losing season last year. We've had a lot of turmoil to come over. We've had players no longer with us. We've had just a lot of chemistry issues at times with players throughout 3 years. We've had to hop in right away as freshmen, and I think that's kind of a benefit now, because now we are the fourth-year guys who have been here for 3 years straight, and we know the system. We know what he wants from us, and it's kind of an all-encompassing role that is asked of me and Justin. It's not just an on the court. It's always making sure that guys are making sure things off the court are done as well, because like he said, one thing that he cares about is making sure our stuff outside of basketball is kept in check as well. And I think personally I've developed a very not fathersome role, but I like to make sure that other guys are doing their things as well. I don't like to just focus strictly on basketball. I like to make sure that my teammates and other people that I care about, which are my teammates, are also doing things well off the court. And I think I've just developed a very disciplined kind of approach to the way that I view my players and my other teammates, because I think it's more than just basketball at that point to them. So,
Justin, from your chair, anytime there's a coaching change, there's always kind of a what's this going to happen? How is this going to affect this? How is it going to affect that? But it wasn't for you guys, because Tyler was here. He was part of you guys getting recruited here. So you've known him your entire college career. So I'm thinking, once again, this is just my thought, is the transition is going to be pretty seamless for you two guys. Am I right?
Absolutely, yeah. Coach Braid, he recruited me out of high school, so I mean I've kind of known him longer than I've known Coach McBride. So, and having him be there, he was kind of always the guy behind the scenes, talking with us, making sure we're mentally good, and making sure we know everything, kind of looking out for us as an assistant coach, as a good assistant coach. So him becoming the head coach was easy peasy.
Now, one of the things that I've always thought, and I mentioned this to Tyler a week or so ago when he was on my radio show, when you move over literally one chair from being the assistant coach, so figure 18, 20 inches or so, depending upon the size of the chair, but when you move over, life changes. Guys, you know this as an assistant. Now, his role as an assistant coach, he can come up and give you a hug and just kind of be that way. He may not have that same dynamic. He may not be able to be that kind of guy like he's going to have to be now. Now he's going to have to play a different type of role. Have you seen that different type of head coach's role? Have you seen that animal come out of Tyler Bradick yet?
Yes, I have. I definitely have.
Has it been good or bad?
It's been I think it's been
careful.
great. I think it's been great. Mainly because he's learned a lot from Coach McBride as well. McBride has mentored him for the last 8 or so years now, and so some of that has come out as well. Like there have been moments in practice where our energy or intensity has been low, and he's rifled away and told us that we need to pick this up right now, or else he's going to punish us. And that's something that we're not used to him as the assistant coach Bradick telling us. And so that's something that I praise him for being able to do just on the spot like that. It's kind of you have to change your personality a little bit to be able to go through those types of things. But he's also been great at kind of keeping the relationships with us as well. He hasn't completely taken over that I'm not going to talk to these players anymore. He still is very connected with us, and I think that's being able to balance those two things is something that's a very tough task to do, and I think he's done great with it so far.
Tyler, just a quick story. This past summer, I had a conference call with 3 of my former players. Now you got to realize my players are in their 40s, in the mid 40s now, and they all collectively were all calling from Phoenix, Arizona. There were 3 of them down there golfing together, and the first thing that they said when they hopped on the line was they said 3 words: on the line, because everybody knew what being on the line meant. That was, we're going to run suicides, and that is the ultimate punishment.
Yep.
It's there for twofold reasons. It's there to get you physically ready, get your body ready to be able to play. In this case, 40 minutes. But those are the kind of things that that was really heartwarming for me at age 67 at the time, I was able to hear from some guys that are in their 40s, and they still are laughing and giggling as if they were 12 and 13-year-old kids in 7th and 8th grade about what on the line meant. That wasn't necessarily punishment. It was in a little bit of a way, but it was there to kind of just establish this is what we're going to do if we don't do things right.
Yeah, absolutely. We have similar sayings, but my job as a head coach, yes, I want to develop these players to be the best basketball players they can be. And does that mean I am just gingerly walking them through that? Absolutely not. I would be doing them a disservice if I don't keep them, up to that standard. So I have to, when a team is struggling and it just, we've all had it where practices is, half the team is just not there mentally. It's my job, and you're talking about that moving over 18 inches. It's my job now to make sure that team is prepared. Like I said, I'm not just there to teach them the game of basketball. A lot of it is discipline that they'll carry out into their professional lives and accountability, just showing up.
Let's talk about these numbers. First of all, for Justin, 28 starts last year in 28 games. He played an eye-popping 31 minutes a game. That is a lot of time on the floor. Average about 14 points a game. In addition to that, 4 rebounds. He was a big contributor. Nash, conversely, played in 26 games, averaged 28 minutes a game. You look where he was at from a production standpoint. It was about 8 points a game. So both these guys, with the surrounding cast as well as the new kids you brought in, are you going to need those same type of numbers from these guys, or do you think you've got enough support with the returning group that you have coming back where you won't have to ask them to hold that burden on their shoulders?
No, and you kind of touched on it earlier. These guys were kind of early on kind of that baptism by fire. They produce because you're all we got. Right now, where we sit, and I think these guys would agree, it's not going to be the Justin and Nash show right now.
Sure.
Now, that doesn't say that, players 17, 18 are ready to go. There's a good group of collective guys that are right there ready. And so I've challenged these two specifically. Production value on the court is twofold. Right, yes. Are you able to score? Are you able to rebound? Are you able to defend? But specifically with these two, your roles as leaders, they can impact winning so much greater in just their presence. Justin's kind of been rehabbing a little bit with a preseason injury, and I said, Justin, you still have a just amount of impact on this team.
Oh, absolutely.
Unfortunately on the sideline right now, but you have to develop that voice. And these two, like when they talk, we have 18 guys. It's a loud gym. But when these two talk, the ball stops, everyone listens.
All right, let's talk about, you got the roster there in front of you. I'm going to get some thoughts from the guys as well.
Sure.
So I want everybody to hop in on this one. And Tyler, let's just go right down the roster. If you want to go numerically, if you want to start with classes, and let's just talk about who you're expecting big things from.
Yeah, so just kind of briefly touching on everybody here just numerically. Justin, obviously here, fourth-year senior. We're expecting big things. Like I said, not only production on the court, but just evolving into that leadership role. A.J. Rolesman is kind of that guy that you know what you're going to get. A phenomenal defender and wants to defend. He seeks out being that best defender. Bo Barhams is a redshirt sophomore, local kid from Jimtown High School. Just has a high basketball IQ. Just kind of makes the right plays. Is kind of in and around the ball constantly. Nash, one of Nash's biggest roles is letting the game just come to him. Nash is a unbelievably intelligent individual, and on the same side of that, he has a tendency on the court to have that same analytical mindset, just allowing the ball to just bounce a little bit, play a little bit.
Have some fun, man.
Have some fun. And we talked about that, this is your senior year. This is the last time for both of them, the last time someone will pay to come and watch you play in McKenna Arena.
Yeah. All you have to do is look over at the sideline if Tanner's doing the game, and it'll make you laugh and just say, we just want you to chill.
Just give me a smiling face. Tanner.
Yeah, there you go. I'll be there, man. All right, so what else you got?
Just going through. So Justin Milch, a senior, second year in the program, unbelievable shooter from the California junior college system. Phil Robles, a senior but a third-year player in the league, a transfer from Purdue Fort Wayne, was kind of called upon to be our primary ball handler last year, do a little scoring. Cal Weatherspoon, a freshman from Dayton Chaminade Julian High School, very explosive athlete, still a little on the thinner side, so figuring out the physicality of the college game. Joey Garwood, a transfer sophomore from local Penn High School, played at Concordia Ann Arbor last year.
He could shoot it.
Very good shooter. Was a all-freshman team in the WAC conference. I believe it was right over 13 points a game last year, so we're expecting some contribution from him. Donovan Mukes played an unbelievable high school at Archbishop Moeller. Just a kid.
Well, you guys are just tearing up the OH.
Oh yeah, that's my my wheelhouse. I have a lot of connections.
Paul. We're infiltrating.
Yep.
Yeah.
Aris Dooney is a redshirt sophomore, second year in the program. Had an injury actually about a year ago to this day, tore his ACL, but fully recovered. Now just kind of getting his wind and conditioning levels back up to, college competition. Drew Adzia, we spoke about him the other day on the coach's box. Just the guy that can't get it right. Drew does the right thing just over and over and over. Obviously, he's somewhat limited in his physical abilities, but he's never let that get in the way of how hard
he's got
he
a
competes.
high basketball IQ.
Yes, yep. Joe Kelly, a junior from Bishop Dwenger High School, athletic, kind of a little undersized post player, but has some abilities on the perimeter. Leo Graves, a freshman here from St. Augustine High School in San Diego, played with an unbelievable high school program out there. Asher Pulhowski, a junior from Schoolcraft up in Michigan, kind of the workhorse. These kids always joke, like, how much is he going to bench today? How many times is he going to go on the floor? Hunter Zazovsky, another 4-year senior with us here, played at Don Bosco Prep. He's kind of every team needs it. Not the class clown's kind of the wrong definition, but the guy that just keeps things loose a little bit, but has a very impactful role. Jordan Montrose is another senior from Irvine Valley Community College. Big-bodied, strong physical presence inside. And then the last two, Carl Begeisen from Iceland and then Davide Brambilla. Carl's a 6'7", kind of a wing forward, trying to figure out exactly what position he is from Iceland. And Davide Brambilla, 6'8", kind of a motion 4, so to speak, can score in and around the basket, but also has some shooting ability. So we're expecting them to contribute at some point.
All right, guys, you've heard the roster. You've seen a chance to watch these cats and practice and kind of get to know them. Nash, let me start with you. Pick out two guys and say, hey, I think these two guys are going to have terrific years because.
Yeah.
And don't say you two. So no.
We know you guys are going to. You guys are going to be okay.
That's what I was going to say. No, two guys that I've already had in mind before you asked me the question. A.J. Roseman is a guy that I think is going to be not only our best defender this year, he's our energy spark. Yep. He's someone, like Coach says, consistent every day in practice. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's also become a great shooter out of the last couple of years. I think last year he shot like 55% from three-point range, which is not expected from him. And he's been he's a great finisher. I expect a big year from him. He's very talented. He's got a lot of energy, and he's going to be a great motor for us. And then the other guy that I like to talk about is Joey Garwood. I just kind of like watching him play and in practice. Everything he does seems so graceful offensively. He's got so many different spots he gets to when he shoots the ball. He's a great three-point shooter. When he drives, and he's got a great mid-range game too. I mean, he just knows where to get to his spots. It's kind of like watching like Kobe Bryant play sometimes. I mean, it's a far of a stretch, but he's got a very similar. He can spin, stop on a dime. Like, he knows where to get to his spots, and I'm excited to watch him play offensively. And I think those two guys are going to be great sparks for us whenever we're like down or we're losing by 10 points or something's not going right. I think one of those two are definitely going to keep us in the game always. So.
Well, we saw Garwood as we're the voice of Penn High School over the course of the last 3 or 4 decades, so we kind of get the idea on the Penn connection. There's been some talented players come through that program. All right, Justin, you pick out a couple cats on that roster.
Yeah.
Who are you excited about?
Yeah, it's funny he said AJ and Joey. I was actually going to say AJ and Joey, but since he said those already, I mean, I love Joey's game. I'm not going to, like, Joey can really play. But if I had to pick two, I'd say Aris Dooney for sure. He's coming back from injury, and he's got great hands. You love a big man with great hands, great touch around the rim. Like, he's sets good screens, never setting an illegal screen. So I love his game. Big body, you can't move him out the paint. So
Kind of like Tanner Camp used to play.
yeah, a little bit, yeah. So he's definitely gonna make an impact. And then I'll say Bo Barham's too. He hasn't really gotten to showcase his game a lot in the past 2 seasons, but he's the guy in practice that plays a lot of defense. And he's, like Coach said, his IQ is very high IQ player. So he makes the right plays all the time. So I'm looking forward to those two for sure.
Okay, for our listening audience who may or may not understand, Justin is planning to continue in his English major still.
Yes, sir.
That we're at. And then Nash, for someone who is as articulate as he is, believe it or not, he's going to be talking to computers of all things because he's going to be going into computer science. I would think both of you guys, with the experiences that you've had, that coaching would be a nice place for you to go into. Have you thought about that?
I don't think I can handle the coaching aspect. There's just a lot of things that he does that I don't think I have I'm cut out for. He's very good at balancing when to say things, what to say, when the best time to say it is. As he said, I overthink things sometimes, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say something. So I think I just have to be more like disciplined in exactly when I'm going to say things and how to balance things. So I'd say it's probably not the best aspect for me. But
what about you, Justin?
I would love to coach. I love the game so much. So it's like my dad was a coach. A lot of people in my family coach. So it's kind of natural for me. I've always seen coaching, and I feel like sometimes I might talk too much to the guys, and I might coach a little
there's
more.
There's always a headset with your guys' names on it.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to,
Yeah.
if you don't want to go into coaching, we always use help for broadcasting. All right, finally, let's talk about the Chicagoland Collegiate Athletic Conference. You look just probably 10 minutes from our vantage point here at just outside McKenna Arena. You got that IUSB team that's always very, very well coached. Coach Coop does a great job over there. They've been very, very competitive. You've got the league has changed around because you had some teams over the course of Tyler's career. Teams have dropped out of the league. Inclusive schools have closed. So what's your guys' take, Justin, overall? Who's the team to beat in the CCAC?
Team to beat, I kind of really don't worry about that. We're just kind of worried about building ourselves as a team. We can't worry about other teams and who they got coming back or who they got as a transfer. If we start doing that, that's a recipe for disaster. I feel like we got to just worry about the guys in our locker room, the guys in our gym who show up every day. And if we do that, we should have a successful year.
I like that attitude, Tyler Brady. Did you teach him how to say that?
Like I said, Justin's came from a long coaching family, so he knows the game. He knows how to approach the game.
That is some tremendous coach speak right there. How about you, Nash? You got a thought on the league? Some teams that concern you?
Yeah, so right now, like Justin said, I do like the idea that we are focusing on just ourselves in terms of we're isolating, we're making sure we're getting right. But I do like to consider the teams like IU Northwest and Cal St. Joe were two physically dominant teams against us last year, and we kind of struggled to play against them because we lacked the physicality that they both brought to us. And I think this year we have a lot more physicality that we've added with Aristuni, another guy named Davide Brembilla from Italy. They're both two physically active big bodies that can help us out, and I'm excited to play those teams and really get our get back this year because they kind of punished us last year.
Final question for all three of you guys. Tyler, let's start with you. The Holy Cross Saints are going to have a great year if fill in the blank.
If fill in the blank. Right now, I think, kind of harping on what Justin said, we take care of business daily. I talked to them early in the year, right when our first practice, and my mantra on life is like, God did not just put us on this earth to be mediocre.
Exactly.
We need to be excellent. And now excellent doesn't mean a trophy, a medal. Now, although you want that, you need to be better than you were yesterday. So I think in X number of days at the end of this year, regardless of record. Now, obviously, like I said, I'm a coach. I want to win. But if these young men are better on and off the court, I think we had a successful year.
Nash, how about you?
I kind of said it last year, but if we play defense, that's where we struggled last year, and that's where we need to get our energy and excitement from this year. We need to build offense from our defense, and if we can do that, I think we can always be successful.
Justin, you got the final word?
I'd have to say intensity level. I feel like that kind of lacked last year in games and in practice. This year we've had high intensity practices, I feel like, and we'll continue to do that. So as long as we are intense in practice and, guys are really going after each other and really, iron sharpening iron, I think we should have a good year.
There you go. Guys, it's been awesome watching you guys grow up. Looking forward to watching you do some games. I know Tanner Camp, who's going to, he's a guy who played 4 years of college basketball, so he understands the dynamic. I know it's neat to have someone that's a little bit younger than the old guy down here at the end of the down at the end. But it's been a privilege to watch you guys grow up. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very much so. Tyler, likewise for you, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Hope you have a great year. That's going to do it here from our broadcast location today, just outside McKenna Arena at the File Center. For Justin, Nash, and Tyler, I'm Paul. God bless you all.